Welcome back to our New York studios as we begin to reveal the seedings and pairings. Here is a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion, Coca-Cola. We begin with the Midwest region, where the #1 overall seed in the Midwest is the #1 overall seed in the tournament, Kansas. Talk about a dominating team. The Jayhawks won 10 games this season by 25 or more points. They will play Thursday and Saturday games in Oklahoma City. And who will they meet? The 16th seed Lehigh Mountain Hawks. Regular season and Patriot League tournament champions Lehigh goes up against Kansas. Also in that bracket, the #8 seed Runnin' Rebels of UNLV. Coach Lon Kruger's team out of the Mountain West, and the Runnin' Rebels sitting around waiting to see, and there you are, guys. Mountain West champions, and who will they meet? They will go up against the 9th seed Panthers of Northern Iowa. Panthers, a school record 28 wins on the season. Now, Friday and Sunday games in Spokane, Washington. 5th seed Spartans of Michigan State, the first team out of the Big Ten into the brackets. Tom Izzo returns to the NCAA tournament. Spartans won a share of the Big Ten regular season title. They will go up against the Aggies of New Mexico State, the first team out of the Western Athletic Conference. They won the WAC tournament title, knocking off conference #1 seed Utah State. The 4th seed Maryland, the Terps, the first ACC team into the tournament, won a share of the ACC regular season title, and the Terrapins will take on the 13th seed Houston Cougars. Out of Conference USA, Coach Tom Pender's squad sitting there, waiting. You guys are in. You betcha. Cougars won the Conference USA tournament, make their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1992.
And that's a very interesting first-round matchup between Maryland and Houston, two very high-scoring guards. Grievous Vasquez for Maryland, Aubrey Coleman for Houston is the nation's leading scorer.
All right, Seth. Friday and Sunday games to take place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The #2 seeds, the Buckeyes of Ohio State. You just saw them win the Big Ten tournament championship. They are the second Big Ten team into the tournament, along with Big Ten Coach of the Year Thad Matta. There are the Buckeyes sitting around, hoping for a #1 seed. They'll settle for #2, and they will meet the 15th-seeded Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara, the first team out of the Big West. The Gauchos won a share of the Big West regular season title and the Big West tournament championship. The 7th-seeded Cowboys of Oklahoma State. They're our second team out of the Big 12. Highlight of the season, a win over #1 Kansas. And they will meet 10th seed Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets coached by Paul Hewitt.
And that's going to be a real interesting matchup. Georgia Tech really starting to emerge now that Derek Favors is starting to have an impact on the interior. They got to cut their turnovers down, though, in Oklahoma State, a team that features James Anderson, one of the best players in all of college basketball.
Thursday and Saturday games to take place in Providence, Rhode Island. #3 seed Georgetown Hoyas out of the Big East. John Thompson III's team had the toughest schedule in the country. They finished 23-10. They'll take on the Bobcats of Ohio, the first team out of the Mid-American Conference. Ohio University won the conference tournament, and you guys are going dancing. The Bobcats 21-14 on the season. As we continue in the bracket, the 6th seed, the Volunteers of Tennessee. Out of the SEC, Bruce Pearl's club knocked off both a #1 Kansas and a #2 team Kentucky in the same season. A lot of orange sitting around watching and seeing where they're going to go. That's where they're going. And Tennessee will meet the Aztecs of San Diego State, the second team we get out of the Mountain West. San Diego State won the Mountain West tournament with impressive wins over nationally ranked New Mexico and UNLV. So let's take a look now at the overall picture and tell us what you guys see.
Well, for me, I think it really sets up favorably for Kansas. I mean, obviously, I like to see UNLV get to the second round. That's going to be a tough matchup, but they really, I think, have their work cut out for them to get to the Final Four. In the bottom of that bracket, though, how about if it all plays out, Georgetown going against Ohio State? That could be a marquee matchup.
And I'm looking at a great, potentially second-round game between Michigan State and Maryland. I like the Spartans in that game, and I'm going to call my first-round upset of the day, and that is going to be San Diego State over Tennessee at the bottom half of this bracket. And also, all automatic qualifiers are in this bracket. So we have settled no bubble questions so far. New Mexico State, Houston, San Diego State all won their conference tournament. They were automatics.
Well, you had UNLV, which we didn't think was a bubble, but they did get in, but there's never any, you don't know for certain. Remember last year, San Diego State, a 31 RPI, did not get in. They were expecting that large, so still a lot yet to be determined.
Meanwhile, it's a big Ohio State team that many of us thought could possibly be a #1 seed. They're a 2 seed. Coming up, we'll reveal the West region when the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show continues live on CBS. Welcome back to the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show. Here is a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion AT&T. And this is the West region. Games to be played Friday and Sunday in Buffalo, New York. The #1 seed in the West, the Orange of Syracuse. Second time Syracuse is a #1 seed. The first time since way back in 1980. And who are they going to meet? The 16th seeded Catamounts of Vermont. First team out of the America East. They won the America East tournament title. They won 11 of their last 12 games coming into the tournament. The 8th seed in the West, the Bulldogs of Gonzaga. They lost in the West Coast Conference tournament final. They will meet the 9th seeded Seminoles of Florida State University. This is the 3rd team out of the ACC.
And this is going to be a real interesting matchup. Florida State leads the country in defensive field goal percentage. Gonzaga 5th in the country in offensive field goal percentage. Which style wins out? Thursday
and Saturday games in San Jose, California. The 5th seed Butler Bulldogs out of the Horizon League. They had a perfect league record, the nation's longest win streak at 20 games. Butler will take on the Miners of Texas El Paso, 2nd team out of Conference USA.
And the first bubble team in, that means somebody's bubble just burst. UTEP, the surprising loser in the Conference USA, and as a 12th seed, one of the last, if not the last team in the field.
All right, Seth. Continuing on down the pairings, #4 seed Commodores of Vanderbilt. Coach Kevin Stallings, the SEC Coach of the Year, brings his team in out of the SEC. They will face Murray State's Racers out of the Ohio Valley Conference. Coach Billy Kennedy's squad standing around and standing up. Winners of the Ohio Valley Conference Tournament Championship. They also won the regular season title. All grins at Murray State. Now, Thursday and Saturday games in Oklahoma City. The #2 seed in the West, the Wildcats of Kansas State. Coach Frank Martin's club reached its first ever Big 12 tournament final, set a school record with 26 wins. You guys are dancing, 26-7 on the season. And they will face the 15th seed Mean Green of North Texas. Coach Johnny Jones's team is our first team out of the Sun Belt Conference. They won the Sun Belt Tournament Championship. The #7 seed out west, the BYU Cougars, 3rd team out of the Mountain West.
And think about it. That means that you're going to have 4 teams from the Mountain West tournament in, because we know that New Mexico is going to get an at-large bid.
And they're going to face the Florida Gators. Coach Billy Donovan's team, the 3rd team out of the SEC. Seth.
Another bubble team in. A lot of people had Florida out as a 10th seed. That tells me they weren't even really close.
Gators are back to the NCAA tournament after a 2-year absence. Friday and Sunday games in Milwaukee. The 3 seed in the West, the Pitt Panthers. Coach Jamie Dixon's squad, the only school with 3 wins over top 5 nationally ranked teams. Panthers won 20 or more for a 9th straight season. Congratulations to the Pitt Panthers. Now, who do you get? Out of the Summit League, the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland. They enter the NCAA tournament after their Summit League tournament title. Oakland comes in on a school record 11-game winning streak. The 6th seed in the West, the Musketeers of Xavier. A share of the Atlantic 10 title, the first team out of the A-10, and they will face the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who went all the way to the Big Ten championship game.
And bubbles continue to bust, Seth. Remember now, a lot of teams are still going to be on that bubble, wondering if they're going to get it. Minnesota does it, even though they were disappointing in their loss.
Some question about whether or not the Golden Gophers were going to make it or not, and it was up and down, seesaw back and forth for a while, Seth.
And I hope they don't get hurt with this celebration. Might hurt their first-round chances. Good move by the committee. Minnesota deserved to be in. A lot of good wins during the season, and they closed the deal down the stretch.
Coach Tubby Smith with a big smile on his face. All right, let's take a look now at this overall bracket and tell us what you see.
Well, for me, I think I look at that number 5-12 matchup, Butler and UTEP. I'm actually going to pick UTEP to win that game. This is a team that's very explosive offensively when you look at what they get with Randy Culpepper. But I think their ability to really dominate on the interior, that's the problem for Butler. Can they rebound against a big, tough, physical team? That's what UTEP has.
Well, I've seen bubbles all over the place in this region. UTEP, I think, getting him was a good move. I like Butler to win that game, but I do like Vanderbilt to advance to the Sweet 16. And then at the bottom of the bracket, I think Minnesota and Florida deserve to be in the field based on what they did, and they played well down the stretch, which is what I think you need to do. Florida was a very close call. I was surprised to see them as a 10.
I was too, but I'll tell you what, though, from BYU standpoint, this is a very good matchup for them. Florida, not a dominating, rebounding team. That's what's given BYU problems the last 2 seasons when they were knocked out in the first round. They offensively so efficient. I think this is a game they win.
All right, guys, let's run down the East region. These games to be played Thursday and Saturday in New Orleans. And the top seed overall in the East, the Kentucky Wildcats. Coach John Calipari's team, winners of the SEC Tournament Championship as well as the regular season title. The Wildcats have won 13 of their last 14 entering the NCAA tournament. Who do they meet? The Buccaneers out of East Tennessee State. First team out of the Atlantic Sun. Coach Murray Bartow's team gets the Kentucky Wildcats. The loss of 4 starters from last year's tournament team. They had to overcome that, and they're in the tournament. The 8th seed in the East, the Texas Longhorns. Rick Barnes' team started the season 17-0, finished 24-9. They will meet the 9th-seeded Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. Wake is the 4th team out of the ACC, and they are 4th in the nation in field goal percentage defense. Friday and Sunday games in Jacksonville, Florida. The number 5 seed, the Owls of Temple, our 2nd Atlantic 10 team. There's Coach Fran Dunphy's team waiting and waiting and watching and seeing, and I'm going to guess a celebration of some sort. Coach Fran Dunphy, Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year. His Owls want to share the Atlantic 10 regular season title. They will face the Big Red of Cornell out of the Ivy League. Coach Steve Donahue's team, their 3rd consecutive NCAA tournament appearance after winning the Ivy League championship. All cheers for the Big Red, Seth.
This is going to be one of those great 5-12 matchups, but I got to tell you, I think both of these teams were pretty badly underseeded. Temple, after winning the 8-10, I thought should have at least been a 3, maybe a 4, and Cornell getting a 12. I was surprised at that. I had them closer to a 10.
All right, as we continue our look at the bracket, number 4, Wisconsin Badgers. 4th seed, 4th team out of the Big Ten. Bo Ryan's club beat 3 AP Top 10 teams this season. They'll meet number 13, Wofford, the Terriers, out of the Southern Conference, playing in their first ever NCAA tournament after winning the Southern Conference tournament with a 13-game winning streak. Think they're happy in South Carolina? Friday and Sunday games now in Buffalo, New York. The 2nd seed. And the 4th team out of the Big East is West Virginia. Bob Huggins' Mountaineers won their first Big East tournament title, a record of 27-6. Mountaineers sitting around trying to figure out where they're going to go, and now they know.
I tell you what, they still have to be, I think, disappointed with not getting a number 1 seed. They had an exceptional season. I think they're going to take it out on their opponents.
Well, their opponent, the first one anyway, is going to be the Bears of Morgan State, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference MEAC Coach of the Year. Todd Bozeman had a 3rd straight season in that role, and it's the first team out of the MEAC. Number 7 seed, Clemson Tigers. Coach Oliver Purnell, 3 straight NCAA tournaments, and it's the 5th team out of the ACC that we get in here. And the number 10 seed, Missouri Tigers, 5th team out of the Big 12. This is the team that leads the nation in steals and turnovers forced this season. Thursday and Saturday games now out in San Jose, California. The number 3 seed, brace yourselves, hold down the windows, the New Mexico Lobos of Steve Alford. Set a school record for wins this season with 29 of them, 29-4 on the year. They're the 4th team out of the Mountain West. Who do they play? They get the Grizzlies out of the Big Sky Conference. The Grizzlies overcame a 22-point deficit to top number 1 seed Weber State and win the Big Sky Tournament Championship game by a point. The 6th seed Golden Eagles of Marquette, our 5th Big East team. They finished the season winning 6 out of 8 games, and Marquette Golden Eagles and their followers sitting around and waiting and watching, and there they are. And who do they get? They'll get the 11th seed, the Huskies of Washington, the first Pac-10 team in. Coach Lorenzo Romar's gang, who won the Pac-10 tournament by knocking off the top seed California. Way out there, the Huskies getting ready to do some celebrating, you betcha. So that's a rundown of the East bracket. Let's take a long look at it. Greg, start from the top.
Well, for me, Kentucky, obviously that #1 seed. I expect them to have a decent run. Texas is one of the teams that we don't know. They've been an enigma all season long for me. You talked about Cornell and Temple. To me, I think that's a really interesting matchup. I like Temple in that game.
Again, Cornell and Washington both won their conference tournament, so no bubble teams in this bracket. I think this is a brutal road for Kentucky, quite frankly. A lot of physical teams in this bracket, looking at potentially against Texas in the second round or Temple and Wisconsin. That's tough, not to mention West Virginia potentially in the regional final, but I think the dangerous team on this side of the bracket is Marquette. A great guard matchup between them and New Mexico. I think Marquette wins that game.
I do. I'm agreeing with you there with New Mexico, though. I should say I'm not going to agree with you. I like New Mexico in that game simply because they're a very good passing team. They have tremendous quickness, and they rebound the ball well for an undersized team.
All right, guys, now there is just one region remaining, and that's the South. A lot of teams and their loyal fans on the edges of their collective seats right now. That includes Notre Dame, sitting there, winners of 6 of the last 7 games. Are they going to make it in? Coach Mike Bray and his club watching. How about Baylor, winners of 8 of their last 10, their best conference finish since the '88 season. Are they going to make it? And how about the Richmond Spiders, runners-up in the Atlantic 10? They've won 12 of their last 14 games. Are they going to make it into the tournament? Answers will come in just a moment when the selection show continues here on CBS. A little tension beginning to mount. Welcome back to New York, everyone. Here's a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champions as we reveal the 4th and final bracket, and that is the South region. These are Friday and Sunday games in Jacksonville, Florida. The top seed in the South, the Duke Blue Devils. The 11th time Duke has grabbed the #1 seed, their first since the '06 season, won a share of the ACC regular season championship and, of course, the ACC tournament title. They will play the winner of the opening round game between Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions, who won the SWAC tournament title, their first NCAA tournament after starting the season 0-11, and the Winthrop Eagles. The Eagles reached the NCAA tournament for the 5th time in 6 years by knocking off top seed Coastal Carolina in the Big South tournament. Big doings at Winthrop. The #8 seed, the Golden Bears of California, won their first outright Pac-10 regular season title in 50 years. They will take on Rick Pitino's Louisville Cardinals, the 6th team out of the Big East. Coach Pitino, the only coach to take 3 different schools to the Final Four. Friday and Sunday games in Spokane, Washington. The Aggies of Texas A&M, the 6th team coming out of the Big 12. The Aggies come into the tournament winning 9 out of their last 12 games. They will meet the 12th seed Aggies of Utah State, our 2nd team out of the WAC.
And a very big bubble question coming into this show. Utah State lost in the WAC tournament. I had them in, but apparently they did not get in by much.
They won the WAC regular season championship. Now, the #4 seed, 5th team out of the Big Ten, the Purdue Boilermakers. Big Ten Coach of the Year, Matt Painter, brings his Boilermakers in. They will face 13th seed Siena out of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Coach Fran McCaffrey's crew, they won their 3rd straight NCAA tournament appearance by winning the MAC tournament title.
And what's interesting about this, could we possibly have a scenario where a 13 seed is actually favored over a 4 seed? In the absence of Robbie Hummel, we've seen how much Purdue has struggled here of late.
All smiles at Siena. Thursday and Saturday games now in Providence, Rhode Island. The #2 seed, the Villanova Wildcats, the 7th Big East team into the tournament. Coach Jay Wright's club won 20 or more games at Villanova 6 straight seasons. And the celebration is on at Villanova, 24-7 on the year. And they'll meet the Colonials of Robert Morris out of the Northeast. NEC tournament title win over Quinnipiac puts Robert Morris into the tournament. The #7 seed, the 3rd team out of the Atlantic 10, the Richmond Spiders, a school record 24 regular season wins. And Richmond's run to the A-10 tournament finals secured their spot in this year's NCAA tournament. As we continue, the #10 seed, the 2nd team out of the West Coast Conference, St. Mary's. After not reaching the NCAA tournament despite a 28-7 record last year, they knocked off arch rival Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference tournament final, and the Gales are in with their 26-5 record on the season. Now, Thursday and Saturday games in New Orleans. Out of the Big 12, the Baylor Bears, the #3 seed. Coach Scott Drew led the Bears to a 2nd place Big 12 finish. They swept Oklahoma. They swept Texas, the 7th club out of the Big 12. Who will they meet? First team out of the Southland, Sam Houston State's Bearcats at 25-7. Bearcats won the Southland Conference Tournament. It's their first tournament appearance since the 03 season. Well, we sat there and wondered about Mike Bray and where Notre Dame's Fighting Irish were going to end up. They are the 8th team out of the Big East. They are the 6th seed in this bracket. Strong finish to the season. They won 6 of the last 7 games, including wins over 4 nationally ranked teams, and they will meet the Monarchs of Old Dominion, the first team out of the Colonial Athletic Association. ODU won both the CAA regular season and tournament titles.
Interesting matchup here. If you think about Notre Dame, the team that really liked to get out and run in transition early on. After the Herringody injury, though, they became a much more methodical, half-court oriented team. Interesting matchup.
All right,
what's interesting to me is the respect shown today for the Pac-10. How about Cal getting not only in the tournament, but as an 8th seed, and Washington getting an 11th seed, which surprised me a little bit. And also Utah State getting a geographic advantage over Texas A&M by being able to go to Spokane, and Siena's going to be my sleeper there. I like them to get to the Sweet 16.
All right, let's check this bracket from top to bottom.
Well, for me, again, I talked about that Notre Dame Old Dominion game. Baylor is a team that I think is a sleeper in this region that has a chance to get to an Elite 8 with how they're playing. And keep an eye on Villanova. They really struggled the latter part of this season, but I think the bracket sets up nicely for them. Could they make another run to the Final Four?
Well, they beat Duke, of course, last year, but I don't think they're going to get there because Baylor, if they can get through these first 2 rounds, gets to play in the regional semifinal in Houston. That's a home court advantage for them. Very big team. I think they would be able to take Villanova in that game because Villanova's one weakness is on the inside.
All right, guys, let's look at the top 16 teams in this tournament and tell me what you see. Who's got the tough road?
Well, excuse me, Greg, I think Kentucky has the toughest road, and I would say Duke with the easiest road. And again, I'm just very surprised. I think it was a bad move sending Syracuse out to Salt Lake City. They deserve to be a little bit closer to home.
I would say that. How about Kansas and Kentucky, arguably the 2 #1 overall seeds? They have the most difficult roads, I think. Think about Ohio State and Georgetown in Kansas's region. Those are very difficult matchups for Kansas.